Hello, hi, welcome back to my channel. I know I haven't been here for a long time, but I've just been super bogged down in trying to figure out what the next step is for me and my life and stuff like that. And so yeah, I've been doing a lot of that, but now I'm back. I intend to make a video every fortnight and to put it up on Thursday, so please look out for that. And without further ado, let's just hop into the video. I live my life, I don't like trouble. Now I know some of you are probably thinking, what the hell is she talking about? What does she mean being a bad African, blah blah blah. But I want to first of all start off by saying that I initially made my channel because I had too much time on my hands, guys. And I was watching a lot of Nollywoods and Gallywoods and pretty much every African film. I even watched like some Kenyan movies at one time. Through that I was seeing a lot of questionable things. You had a lot of gender inequality in them. I had a lot of behaviours that they would deem as antisocial or against the culture. The movies industry and the media is what helps people to think the way they do think. So I was thinking to myself, if they're portraying these kind of behaviours as bad, such as a woman going out to work and not having enough time to be in the house with her husband, then a lot of women are going to sacrifice. A lot of women are going to sacrifice their careers and moving up because they see in these movies how it ends for the women, and it's not good. And when I was seeing this, no one was talking about it in the YouTube community. I decided to put myself there and voice my opinions and voice what I'm seeing. So that's how it all started off for me. Now then, I feel like through this same media, it causes a lot of Africans to judge people and to categorize people so quickly into who's good and who's bad, in terms of who follows the social norms and the social rules and who does not. Now, the people who do not follow the social rules, I tend to see a lot of Africans they don't hate them, but they hate the fact that they don't follow the same rules as them, and they can't understand sometimes that people are different. Not everyone is the same, so not everyone can be put in the same boat as you. Just because you follow a certain way doesn't mean everyone else has to follow that same certain way. On my channel here, I'm just trying to speak to Africans who see where I'm coming from and understand and also want change. So I am a bad African, number one, because I want gender equality. Now, although Africa is improving, more girls are going to school, more men see it as a non-shameable thing to stay at home with the kids. Although all this is happening and it is good, we are going in the right direction, but there is a lot of work to do. In a lot of countries, most African countries, to be honest, women are the minority in the government officials and the parliamentary kind of careers. For example, countries like Madagascar and Niger have less than 5% women seated in parliament. Less than 5%, yet the women are the childbearers. How ironic is that? The women are the ones who give birth to these men, but yet they're not allowed to be voiced or be represented in politics. And whilst women do go to schools and do get educated, their education is normally limited and it's normally determined on sons. So sons get the first go. So you could be the eldest daughter out of 5, and if the youngest is a son, he will go to school before you. And this is the kind of thing I hate, to be honest. This is the kind of attitudes that I don't like, that girls are second best. And even when women are educated, they're still restricted by the society's rules and regulations. So women only, it is basically a glass ceiling again. Women only get so far, because if they go any further, they would threaten the masculinity of a man. So they're always put in their place so they don't reach their full potentials just to not intimidate men. And that's unfair. I'm a bad African because I'm not religious. Now, saying I'm not religious doesn't mean I don't believe in God or a higher purpose. When I say I'm not religious, I purely mean I don't follow a set religion like Catholicism or Islam or Buddhism, whatever it is. I just don't follow them. The reason I don't follow a religion is because I feel like the people are pretty much the same, to be honest. The same way that they put people into a box of good and bad, it's pretty much the same as that. They say, oh, we accept all, but we don't like this. I feel like religion is too regulated by pastors, victors, priests, whoever it is. I feel like they are pretty much determining what people follow within religions, and I don't like that, to be honest. And to be honest, I don't feel drawn to it. I don't feel like I agree with the majority of what they say. And yes, there are some good bits, don't get me wrong, there are some good bits, but I tend to see that people twist and turn verses within the Bible or the Quran or whatever they read. They tend to twist and turn verses in order to suit what they're saying or their purpose, in order to prove their point. And I also, to be honest, I just believe that it's very puppetry. It's like you're not thinking for yourself, you're acting upon someone else's life and experience. I'd never want anyone to feel like that they were committing a sin or they were sinful for being the way they are or doing what they love. And lastly, I'm a bad African because I want equality for all. And when I say for all, I mean for every sexual orientation, for every gender, for every race, for every kind of shade of color you are, for everyone in Africa to be equal, and at that stage where they don't feel threatened or there's not laws put in place to hinder who they want to be. And mental illness as well. In a lot of African countries, I can't even list them all because there's so many African countries where they still believe that mental illness is linked to having demons or evil spirits inside you. So they torture's pretty much the only word that I can think of to explain what they do to these people. They make them suffer for something that they can't even help. If they could only just recognize mental illness as an actual illness in Africa, instead of saying people are spiritually shackled, people are spiritually possessed, instead of actually giving them the help that they need, they're making their lives worse. And a lot of the time, these mental illnesses that these people have, they are treatable with correct medicine and stuff like that. So I don't know why we don't incorporate this in Africa and we don't recognize mental illness as an actual issue and an actual problem. In 38 out of 54 sub-Saharan African countries, homosexuality is still punishable by imprisonment or sometimes even death, which is quite heartbreaking to think that we as a people are moving forwards, yet our mentality is still lagging. So it begs the question, are we really moving anywhere? And I find this also very puzzling to think of, because child marriage is still allowed in the majority of these countries. In countries like Niger, Chad, Central African Republic and Mozambique, over 60% of girls under 18 are married off. So how is child marriage still legal and still allowed to happen, yet homosexuality is not? A common thing a lot of Africans say is that homosexuality is a white man's disease. They brought it into our nation, yet if you actually look at your history, you would know that the Portuguese, when they went into Africa in the 16th century, actually documented a lot of their findings, actually wrote down that it was common practice. They document their findings in Africa, especially in Congo, when they called it an unnatural damnation. So it was actually the white people who said it was wrong to be homosexuals, and yet we as Africans were still holding on to the mentality that the white people gave us. We're still holding on to the religions that the white people brought to us, telling us how to behave, and we're still behaving that way. I can't see how we're progressing if we've got the brainwashed mindset that someone else gave to us and someone else fed to us all these years, and we still haven't managed to break free from it. They also documented a lot of transvestism. I'll put the word down, transvestism. They also documented this in a lot of countries like Madagascar and Ethiopia. Same-sex marriage then in Cameroon, Gabon and Ghana were documented and still happen in remote tribes now. So homosexuality is not something that just sprung out of nowhere. It's not a disease that just spread from the white people and they've infected us with it. No, it's been happening for centuries, but Africans refuse to believe that because now they're in this brainwashed state where they don't even know the truth about themselves and where they come from and their origins anymore. Lesbianism was also documented and was also documented in the 18th century. It was common to see in polygamous families, South African women within those polygamous families actually performing in lesbian acts and becoming couples in a way. Also, women back then in Nigeria and Kenya could marry. So women could marry women. In Benin, homosexuality was seen as a boy's rights to manhood. So homosexuality is ingrained in our history, and if we actually learn about our history and learn about where we came from as Africans, then we would know that we were fine with it at one point. So I just don't understand how parents think it's okay to abandon their children, how parents think it's okay to tie up their children and whip them continuously, trying to expect something to change. I don't understand how religious ceremonies can go on trying to get demons out of people who are perfectly fine. It's just heartbreaking to see people are still holding on to these beliefs which really hinder us and which really hinder us from actually getting to the places we can be, because we want to hold on to something that's false, something that was given to us by the white man, something that is not actually ours. So yeah, I don't care to say I am a bad African. It's a new year now. Something needs to start changing.